Hi and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we're going to learn how to make part 2 of the popcorn granny bag. You will have all your squares complete and we'll also have our edging done. Altogether we need 5 squares, and of course these can be made in any pattern that you like. So let's get started on the lesson. This part is totally optional, but if you like you can pin out your square. You just come back down and you can see I've still got my stitch markers attached. I've got a pin, I've just poked it in there. I poked it in a sideways direction because I didn't want the pin to come through the other end of the other side of the foam square. You could pin this out on a bed, on a towel. I haven't wet this. You could spray it with water, you could soak it if you wanted to, pin them out to dry, but I've basically pinned them out. I've just put one in each corner, one there, can't really see it, but there's one there and then one up in the top corners there. I've just pinned it out to make it take shape really. But if you would like to get some of these T-pins, they're fantastic. If you'd like to get some of these T-pins, I'll put a link below and you can grab some for yourself. They're awesome because the crochet won't pop off the end of the pin because there's like a T section. See that? Not that it does anyway, but if it did, if it was loose, it might pop off the end there, but it doesn't because it's got a T on the end. This is my square before blocking. You can see it doesn't quite sit straight. And I've just unpinned the square. You can see it's staying in shape. So I'll take it, give it a bit of a shake to see if it stays square. That's pretty good. It stayed flat too, which was the main thing. But it will look better once we join it all together. We are also going to need some fabric. This says it's superfine cotton lawn. Great flower designs. That means nothing to me. It's cotton fabric. It isn't a thick one. It's not quilting cotton, definitely. Quilting cotton is a lot thicker. But I've got a heap of this stuff, so I'm going to use this for my bag. The amount of fabric that we're going to need is going to depend how big you made your squares. So I'm going to show you how to measure it, and then you'll know how much fabric that you need. And you could measure your crochet section before you go and buy your fabric so that you would have a good idea of what you need. You will also need a tape measure. We're going to need some sewing thread. I think this is just cotton thread, but I'm sure any thread would do, but this is just some cheap sewing thread, and I have a sewing needle. I've just got my cotton already threaded on there. And we're also going to need a crochet hook that is smaller than the one you are using for your bag. You may not need to use this, but it does come in handy if you've got one. So this one's 2 sizes bigger than the one I'm using on my bag. You will need some fabric scissors and also some sewing pins. Once we have all of our squares complete, we want to arrange them like this, and we are going to join them. First of all, we're only going to join where the rainbow squares meet the center blue square. So this is the center square for me, and then we've got the rainbow square for the sides of our bag. I'm actually glad I did this in a contrast color because now when I'm joining them, it's going to be so much easier for you to see what I'm doing. I'm also going to be using a different colored yarn, so I'm using a darker blue than that's a turquoise. I'm not sure what color this is. And then this is the spring green. So we're going to, you can join this any way you like when it comes down to it. You can sew them together, you can crochet them together, do whatever you like, slip stitch them together, anything, whatever you prefer as your joining method. I am going to crochet them together with a single crochet because it's quick and it's easy. Where all the little puff stitches are all sticking out, that's the right side, this one. The wrong side is the flat section on the back. So we're going to put those together. So one will be facing with the good side the good side facing down, and then the next one will have the good side facing up because that means both wrong sides are together. So we're going to do that. We're going to go to one of our corners, doesn't matter at the moment because we are just joining our first square. We can join it wherever we like. I'm going to join here because I've got no ends that are going to get in my way when I'm crocheting, just to show you guys. And we're going to grab our yarn. So this is my joining yarn I'm going to use. This is just recycling an old project. I think it was a jumper, but it didn't work out. So we have the corner of this granny square, and you need the corner of the other granny square. You can see that we've got two. I'm editing my video and I've just realised that my camera has eaten one of my video clips. So there's a huge bit missing, but luckily you sort of repeat the same thing later on in the tutorial. So I am going to add a video clip where we are joining the squares together with single crochet, but you will notice that the other squares are already joined. It won't make much of a difference, it shouldn't make any difference at all, but this is all I've got because I've already joined everything and finished the whole bag. Hopefully this is good enough. Any questions, put them below in the comment section. So we're going to go into the corner stitch, which we know we've already crocheted into. So we're going to go through that one, and then the corner stitch on the other square, and grab our yarn. Make sure we've got a couple of inches so that we can sew that or crochet over it later. One chain to secure. Okay, we've got a lot of work to fit in this camera now and it literally won't fit, so this is just going to be in the background unfortunately, but what a pretty background. So we're just going to crochet in that same stitch and in each stitch across. So we're going to crochet all the way across. When we get to the end, we are going to see our third stitch, that's the 3 in the corner there, so that's this one here, and it's going to line up with the one on the back. So we're just going to go into both and a single crochet, and now we're going to finish off. Where are my scissors now? Is it just me, or does anyone else's scissors run away? Little scissors, where are you? Okay, they've totally disappeared. I'll be back. Yeah, I have no idea where those other ones went. Luckily I got heaps. These look brand new. Ooh, new scissor smell. Which is actually gross because they're just metal. So we're just going to pull that through and finish off. And like I said, I'm not going to sew in all my ends yet because I'm pretty sure we can crochet over that when we come around and do the top of the bag or some section of the bag. So we've got one joined together. Yeah, look at that. Pretty. And we've got this cool ridge on the other side, which I love. So we're going to grab our next square. So we're making our plus sign, remember? Oh, so we've got one on this side, so we need one coming this way. So we're going to put that there, and we're going to join this one in the same way across that way. So we're going to put wrong sides together. So we have popcorn stitches sticking up to the roof and popcorn stitches on the table. So we've got two wrong sides together. And you can see now that we've got this one over here, the stitch that we've crocheted into, which was our corner stitch, we're going to borrow that again. So we're going to go in there again. So we're going to go into the corner stitch, which we know we've already crocheted into. So we're going to go through that one, and then the corner stitch on the other square, and grab our yarn. Make sure we've got a couple of inches so that we can sew that or crochet over it later. One chain to secure. So we're just going to crochet in that same stitch and in each stitch across, and we're going to do it in the same way that we did the other one. So nothing hard. So we're going to crochet all the way across and end like we did with the last one. And we're going to do this to all 4 squares that we need to join to our middle one. And remember, we need to make it look like a plus sign. So after you finish crocheting this one, lay it back out so it's flat. And then see where you need to join your next one. So after we've completed all of our joining on that section, I'll show you what to do next. So once we have our squares all attached to the center square, so I'm attached here, here, here and here. Now it's time to do the lining. I'll tell you, I just joined this whole thing all together, like these sides and that side. I just joined it all together and then realised that we haven't made a lining for our bag. From this corner all the way across to the other corner. We want to know how big our bag is. So it's approximately 95 centimeters or 37.5 inches. And it should be the same this way. It is the same that way. Of course it is. So our lining, we want to make about 1 inch longer than what we need it. So you want to add 1 inch to your measurement because we're going to do our, you can tell I don't sew, you're going to do your hem. You're going to do your hem. Oh dear. You're going to do your hem, so you're going to have one on there and one on this end. You can't see what I'm doing because I can't put it in the camera. You're going to have a hem here and then a hem here. So you're going to add 1 inch to the measurement that is all the way across. So let's say you had 50 inches. You're going to make your fabric 51 inches, or let's just say it's 60 centimeters. You're going to add 2.5 centimeters to that, so that's approximately 1 inch. So that's going to give you your lining. And we want to cut 2. We just want to cut a rectangle to go all the way this way, and then another rectangle to go all the way that way. So we also need a measurement across. So if we measure across our square, let's go about there. So I'm approximately, if I just lay that down, approximately 35 centimeters or 13.5 inches approximately across. And again, you're going to add another inch or 2.5 centimeters to the measurement across. So you're going to end up with 2 rectangles, one for this bit and one for that bit. And in the middle, it's going to be double fabric. So I have my fabric here, and let me just say, I'm not a professional sewer. So you're going to have to bear with me, and hopefully this tutorial works out alright for the sewing bit. So I've cut my fabric, and it was 14 inches across by 39 long. If that's wrong, I'm going to put the measurements on the screen. So what I'm doing, I'm just ironing it because I don't know if you can see that in the video, but I think there you can see it's quite crinkled. Probably should have done this before I cut it, but I didn't because I'm a rebel like that. So basically we're just going to iron it. Nothing exciting. But I thought I'd put all this in there in case you really haven't done any sewing before, I guess. And also too, when you have your bag lining in your bag, it looks nicer. It's not all crinkled. Hands up, who prefers ironing fabric over ironing clothes? Me. It's much more fun. Okay, so we're going to do this to both of our pieces of fabric. And then we can work on the hem. Oh, and I do have steam on my oven. What's this? Tell how much I use it. What is it again? An iron. It's definitely not an oven. Alright, so that's that done. So now what we're going to do is work on our hem. And I don't know if you know this, but with fabric there's also a wrong and a right side. This is my wrong side. You'll be able to tell when I turn it over. and this is my right side. See how this is much more vivid? The pattern is clearer, and then on the back here it's what's the word? It's a lighter colour, and it's, I don't know if you can tell, but it's not as, the pattern isn't as clear. It's a little bit, sort of a little bit blurry because it's the wrong side. And I've got some pins here. Yep, pins. Nothing to explain there. Or you can use these things called wonder clips. They're like little bulldog clips, if that's what I call them. Those things used in the office. They're called wonder clips, and I have a whole packet of these, but they must be in a safe place because I can't find them. They're really good. I'll put a link below where you can get these. They're awesome because they just clip on the edge of the fabric, and they're really quick to sort of, a pin's not that quick if you're not a professional sewer like some people I know. I am definitely not professional. So we added an inch to the ends and then to the side as well. That means we have ½ an inch for each end and then also for each side. And we're just going to do a simple hem because, let's face it, I just want to do a simple hem. And we're just going to fold it over 1/4 an inch and iron it, and then fold it 1/4 an inch again. So I'm just going to use my pins. So you can eyeball it. I have done a little bit of sewing, so I kind of know what 1/4 an inch looks like. And just finger press it, which is like that, for 1/4 an inch across, so that when you iron it, it's already folded over and you don't burn your fingers, because that would not be fun. And we're just going to iron it all the way across. Just be careful, that is going to be hot, and then we are going to, yes, that is hot. I have girly fingers because I have wimp fingers. Anything hot, it's much hotter than what it, I don't know, it's much hotter. Because I can pick something up and it's really hot on my fingers, but then if I eat it, it's not actually that hot. We're just gonna, it's called finger pressing because you're just pressing it with your fingers. We're going to do that, and then we're going to iron that as well. Make sure you get those fingers out of the way. You don't have to iron it, but I just find it's much easier to pin. And I have two types of pins. I don't know if you can see those in the video. One's really short and one's quite long. I don't know what the difference is, but I prefer the long ones. Ow, it is hot. Wimp fingers. Anybody else got wimp fingers? You can see, I don't know if you can see it on the video, but that one there's all melted. It looks like I've ironed it. Okay. So we're going to do this on the other end of the fabric as well. So we're going to turn it around. Excuse my little bit dirty ironing board cover. Anybody else got a dirty ironing board cover? So again, we're going to fold it over 1/4 an inch, and then iron it, and then 1/4 an inch again, iron it, and then pin it. Like I said, don't have to iron it. It's just, I find it gives it a neater edge or crisper edge, and it just stays there when you're going to pin it. And this is when you finger press it after you've ironed once. The ironing board cover's warm, so it kind of helps when you press it down. Cool it down. My wimp fingers, that is still really hot. And then we're going to press that. Grab our pins. That's hot. I bet you the oven, why do I keep saying oven? I must be hungry. I'm not, I just had lunch. The iron. I don't even know what I was going to say now. I'm too busy thinking about ovens. Okay, so that's both ends done, and we want to do this to both pieces of fabric because we have two pieces of fabric that are identical, so we want to do the same on the other one. So now that we have both of our pieces of fabric folded over and pinned, and it's the same on the other end, we just can't see it's out of the screen, we're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to sew across to hold that hem down. So now we are going to sew down the little hem that we've made, and this is as good an angle I can get without the camera falling off the table. Let's see if I can move it a bit closer. But basically we're just going to sew down this hem, and I apologise for the weird light, it's the light that's on the sewing machine. So we're going to sew down our hem, and we're going to sew, I don't know, close to the folded edge, which is here. We're going to sew just close to that, not right on the edge, but I don't know, maybe, what's half of a quarter? 1/8 of an inch, just so it holds it down. So I think I'm ready to go. Hang on a minute. Did I tell you I'm not a professional sewer? I don't have any top thread. Oh dear. Oh, I have this nifty, I haven't used my machine for ages, I have this nifty threader thingy, if I can remember how to work it. Yoo-hoo, look at that. It's great for my eyes because my eyes are terrible. Alrighty, so I'm going to pop that down. I lined up my folded edge just to the, mine's got like a clear bit in the middle there for my foot, and then I've just lined it up to the inner edge of this outside piece. I apologise for that noise in the background. It is really, really, really windy here today. And yeah, there's nothing I can do about that, not background noise. So here goes. I think that needs to be under there, doesn't it? I'll get rid of all this jibber jabber. Okay. Why is that out again? Get into there. Oh my goodness, I'm all thumbs. Yay. Alright, so we're going to back it up. And then we're going to sew down and remove our pins so we don't sew over them. Yeah, I was leaving about 1/4 of an inch, sorry, 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. I'll show you when I'm finished. Goodness me, I haven't sewn for ages. It actually feels really good to sit behind the machine again. I'm going to back it up a bit. Whoa, that was a bit too much. I'm going to lift our foot and just cut off your threads. I've got a cuttery thing, you can't see, it's just up there. A cutter thing. Right, so let me show you the hem that I just did. You can see there it's just a little bit in from the edge. You could go closer if you like, but like I said, I'm really a beginner crocheter. I'm not a beginner crocheter. I am a beginner sewer. But yeah, like I said, you could go closer to the edge, and you could do this any way you like. This is just how I'm doing my bag. I'm just showing you because I know that someone will say, how did you do that? So I thought I would show. My very first sewing tutorial. Let's see how we go. So we want to do the same with the other end. We're going to grab our other end. I'm going to see if I can go just a little bit closer to the edge with this one. Like I said, I haven't used my machine for a while, so we just backed it up a bit. I can't think what that's called. Backstitch? Anybody know? Put it below. I'm sure you'll correct me anyway. So I'm going to try and go a little bit in from where I was before so that it's just a little bit closer to that folded edge. I'll just show you. Look at this angle. This angle's even better. You can tell that the fabric is in from the edge of that. I apologise for my nails being a little bit dirty. I have just come out of the garden. And once we get to the ends, we're going to back it up a bit. And what this does, if you are not a sewer, it locks the stitches in at the end, so that it doesn't all come undone, which is a good thing, don't you think? See, I think that looks a bit better. Let's get this. See, it's a little bit, you may not even be able to tell, but it's a little bit closer to the edge. Right, so now that we've done that one, that is one piece of our fabric, we're going to do the same to the other piece of fabric. So grab one of your pieces of fabric, and now we have two raw edges. We've got the two long edges and they're both raw edges. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this edge the same way that we did our short edge. So we can just, we can snip off with fingers. We can snip off a little bit of that for the bulk, to get rid of some bulk. Here, I'll try and zoom that in when I'm editing. So this corner, just snip it off, but I don't think I need to because this is quite thin fabric. It's just what I had in my stash. So let me know what you think of the sewing part of the tutorial. Don't worry, I'm not going to start making sewing tutorials because generally I follow everyone else. And I'll put a link in down here in the description box to people that I follow here on YouTube who I think are great sewers and the projects that I like to make. There's a project bag that I've made a couple of times and it's really good, and there's another lady on here that does great tutorials. Okay, so you can see that I've left it a couple of inches from the end. So when we start up here, I thought we were going to start at the other end, but we don't. We start up here because all of our fabric is on our left, and that's where you've got most of the room on the left hand side of your sewing machine because there's nothing there. On your right hand side you've got the actual machine in the way, so you can't put most of your bulk fabric over that way. So we're now going to do this for all four edges and repeat. So you can, I don't know if you can see, but I do have some threads hanging off here, so you will need to snip them off as well. We are back at the sewing machine and we are going to stitch down like we did on the previous side. Just be careful when we're starting off because it is quite a few layers of fabric. Ooh. As you can tell by my machine protesting. What we want to do now is get one of our pieces of fabric and we're going to fold it in half. and we're going to put short ends together like that. Just make sure it's all nice and even. And on the folded edge, we're just going to finger press. You can iron it if you want, or we can finger press it. So we're going to open it up and we're going to fold it again, and we're going to put long edges together, and you'll have this narrow looking piece of fabric. And then where we did our crease, which is here, but you can't really see it, my iron's still warm, we just want to iron. No, it's not very warm. It's cooled right down. It's a little bit warm. We're just going to finger press it so that we have a, I'm just going to iron that again. We have a cross in the middle where the two bits that we've just ironed or finger pressed are. This may not show up on camera. There's a line going that way and there's a line going that way. We want to make sure that our pretty side is looking at us. So there's a line here and a line there. We're going to fold the other piece of fabric in half. You can see that's just in half there. And we are going to finger press that. Just away from the other one so you don't iron out the other one. And now we're going to fold it with pretty sides facing us, and we're going to fold it so it's into a narrow piece of fabric this time. So it's our long edges are getting folded together, and we're going to finger press that. And it's about in the middle where I'm finger pressing. So on the bottom piece of fabric, you will see the line going across, so it's going the long edges of your long edges here, and there's a line going across that way. You want to get this other piece of fabric and get the crease, that's the word I was looking for, the crease that's going this way, and put it where the X is, so where the two creases meet in the middle, which for me is right there. We're going to lay that where the X is in the middle, and where our other crease line is going across here, we're going to line that up. Where is it? It's not very easy to see. If you ironed it, it would be a lot easier to see. So the across crease is lining up on this piece, is lining up with the across piece there, the crease that we've got. And we're going to open it out, making sure not to move it. I think I just moved that accidentally. Putting that back down because I accidentally moved it. And you want it in line with the other piece of fabric there. I'm just going to grab a pin and I'm going to just open that and I'm going to pin it. So you should have pretty sides facing you on both pieces of fabric. I'm going to pull that across, just holding it in place. Just be careful with this piece, you don't want it all to shift. And we're going to pin just in the corners. So what we've done is created a double layer base. If you wanted to, you could interface your fabric. I don't have any interfacing on me at the moment, so, and I don't feel like driving half an hour to the craft shop, so mine is not going to have interfacing. You could use wadding. I think that's what it's called. It's that fluffy stuff that goes in quilts. And then I'm just going to put a pin in the middle as well. You can put more pins if you like. Might just move these in a bit so when we do our sewing we don't sew over those pins. Just moving them in for where I'm going to sew it. Move that one in as well. Okay, so now what we want to do is if you've got wadding, you're going to pop that in between in there. Or if you want to put a base in your bag, you're going to shove it in there. But you do want it smaller than the square. Ouch. I don't know if you can see how, ow, look at the thing. Don't look at the camera, Claire. We've create a square now, which goes along there, and then along there, and along there. Can you see that? It's because it's the same colour fabric. You can see that's our edges from one piece going this way, and then the edge that lines up goes along here. That's the fabric going that way. So basically what we're going to do is we are going to sew around the edge of our square that we have created. But what I'm going to do is, we've already got a stitch line. You won't be able to, ow, pins. You won't be able to see this. I keep looking up at the camera. You won't be able to see this. I don't think you'll be able to see it. There is a thread from my seam that goes all the way along this piece of fabric. So I'm going to use that as a guide. And then I can use, I don't know, we'll figure it out when we get to the sewing machine, right? We're going to sew along here as well, so that we create this square on the bottom, and that is going to be the base of our bag. You want the pretty side facing in, because that's the side you're going to see when you look in your bag. So we're going to go back to the sewing machine, so give me a sec and we'll go get set up over there. We can start anywhere we like when we start sewing this square on our base, and I'm just going to start where the top piece of fabric has the stitching here, and I'm going to use that as a guide, but I'm not going to stitch on top of the stitches. I'm just going to stitch next to it, and I'm going to line up my stitches with the left hand side of my foot, and that still gives me enough room to stitch in between there. We're going to use a back stitch, and you may notice that I have pins along here. I've just got those there because my video camera is in front of me. It is right up next to my sewing machine, and there is bulk of fabric in the way, so I've just pinned it so it doesn't all move around, but you shouldn't need to do that because you probably won't have a video camera stuck right in front of you. And if you do, leave a link below so I can check out a tutorial. Alrighty, so we're going to again use this stitch here as a guide. I've lined up my left hand side of my foot here. So we're just going to start off, and we are going to do a back stitch. So just take it easy because we are sewing through quite a few layers of fabric, and we just want to take it easy. And when we get to the piece of fabric that's going across here, that's when we need to stop. I'm going to probably stop just past the stitch line. I don't know if you can see that. See how there's a stitch line there? I'm probably going to stop just past that so I can turn my work. So you want to put the needle down into your work, and then you want to lift your foot and then turn it around. I just need to move you back because this is what's all in front, plus a video camera is jammed up against it. These tutorials are much different to making a crochet tutorial. So we're going to turn this around. And you can see here we don't have anything to line it up with, but if you feel, I mean, you can't feel my tutorial, but if you feel your work, you'll be able to feel this part of that we've just sewn. You'll be able to feel this underneath. It's just here. If I just put my fingers, it's just there. So you just want to line that up. So as you're going, you're going to be feeling for the underneath piece of fabric, and you're just going to be lining that up. So line it up as straight as you can. I can feel that is the edge of my work, and I'm trying to line that up with the side of the foot. So here goes nothing. And again, we're just going to go past the stitch line, which is there, and put your needle down into your work spin it around. Good. So it's much easier to see when you've got your fabric on top. So we're going to do that all the way around, and they're going to back stitch at the end. This edge to that edge, pin this edge to that edge, pin that edge to that edge, and pin this edge to that edge. I would do them one at a time so that you're not getting stabbed by pins left, right and centre. So after we've done that, that is going to make a cube. So hopefully in the next shot, you're going to see a funny looking cube. Only funny looking because it'll be so floppy. So this is where we're going to start. We're going to start where we've sewn all the square together. We're starting up there. We're not starting at the corners. We're starting up where the fabric joins together. So we're just going to make that flat and put it into the machine, and we're just going to do a back stitch as well. I'm going to use the edge of my fabric here as my guide. I'm holding my threads at the back. And we're going to back stitch. And then we're going to work our way down. We want to make sure, I'm going to take a pin out, so I've got a bit to sew. And you want to make sure that this and this are lined up on top of each other. You don't want it like that or like way too far over. You want them lined up on top of each other. Then go down, take your pin out, and again make sure it's lined up. You only need to do this every time you take your pin out, because sometimes when you pin it, you don't pin it straight. And so I'm just near the end, I'm making sure that my ends line up and that it's all sitting on top of each other. You can see it's gone slightly off there. Like I've already said, I'm not a professional sewer. Not one of them either. When we get to the end here, there are lots of layers of fabric, so just take it easy. It may get stuck under your foot, so just grab the back of your work, like the piece that you've already sewn, and just give it a gentle pull just to help it through. And then when it's going, I'm going to do a back stitch, and I'm going to be pulling with my finger this fabric back through because it is quite thick. Just take it slow and then go back through. And this is my new machine too, because I wanted to upgrade a bit because the other one, it just wasn't, I'd outgrown it, so I just wanted to upgrade. And I gave my machine to a friend's daughter, so she got to use it. To show you what I've got. I've got the Singer Heritage. It's really cool. It looks like one of the old ones, but it's not. And it's got all the digital, what's the names? Stitches or whatever you call them. Yeah, self-threading, and it lifts the needle at the end when you're finished. Okay, so we're going to do that to all four sides. In the next part of the tutorial, I'll have my fabric cube finished. Ta-da! We have a cube. Yeah, it looks nothing like one. But let's see if I can turn it upside down so it looks more like a cube. This is the best I can do. My kettle is underneath it. But you can see it kind of looks like a cube. Trust me, it's a cube. It just really doesn't look like one. Let me pick it up there. You can see all the sides are sewn together. Ta-da, there's my kettle. And this is the side that we're going to be looking at. This is the outside, so that'll be facing your bag. Oh, one-handed just does not work. And this is the inside. So now it's time to go back and go to the crochet part of our bag. We're going to crochet from the bottom here, where my yarn is still attached, and we're going to join this side and this side together, and it will bring it up and it will come up like a cube. So we're going to fold it over and crochet along that edge. I have joined all my sides together, and I've still got my yarn still attached to my crochet, and you can see it just there, still attached. So my base is on the bottom and it is joined on the sides, so it's joined here and it's joined up there. So I don't have enough arms, but it will be cubed shaped. You can see this is quite a big bag, and I didn't think it was going to be this big, but I did want a... Should I come into screen so you can see me? Can I get low enough? Yeah, there we go. I did want a crochet bag that was big and colourful and lined, so I'm pretty sure that this project ticks all those boxes. So now we are ready to crochet around the top of the bag, and this will just neaten everything off. And we're also going to add our handles. You can crochet as many rounds as you like on the top of the bag. At the top of the bag, you can't even see the top of the bag. You can crochet as many rounds as you like, and you could make the handles as long as you want. You could make them really short if you just want it sort of like a, I don't know what you call it, is it a tote bag? Just short handles basically. Or you could do long handles so that you could wear it as a shoulder bag and you could put it over your shoulder. So now we've got all our sides joined together, we're going to crochet around the top. So we can start basically anywhere we like. I'm going to put my yarn just in there. See where the blue is? Which is the colour that we use to join the sides of the bag. And what this is going to do is make sure we don't have a gap in our crochet. Oops, let's see if we can get some more loops there. Put that on there. And we can crochet over our tails as we go. Focus camera, there we go. Like I said, you can start this anywhere on the bag that you like, but we're just going to crochet around. We just want to finish off the edging of the bag before we sew in our lining. And my lining is actually too small for my bag, but I'm going to fudge it. You will have instructions that'll be written across the screen to make yours a bit bigger. Mine is too short for the width, but it's fine for the depth of the bag. So I think we just need to add another inch to one of our measurements, but that's okay. This is the very first sewing bag lining I have made without a pattern, so technically it's actually the very first bag lining I've ever done. So we're going to crochet around and we're going to just neaten off this edge. So crochet over any ends that we have. They've all just disappeared in there, and go all the way around until we're back here, and we're going to slip stitch to the very first single crochet, just like we did when we did our round of edging on our squares. So go all the way around. Pause the video and I'll see you when we have this part done. My lining is about 1/2 inch short on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another round of single crochet, but I'm going to use a smaller hook. Currently I'm using a 5mm crochet hook, or a H size hook. So I'm going to grab a 4.5 or a 4, and I'm just going to work another round of single crochet just so it looks better at the top. It's going to be a little big all around. The crochet bit is going to be too big for the fabric. This is going to be my one. Yours should be okay because you will have added that extra, I think it was an extra inch, which will make your lining wider. So I'm just going to do one more round of single crochet with the smaller crochet hook. We're going to get our bag lining and our bag, and we want to put the bag lining inside the bag. And we're going to line up the edge of our lining up to the edge of our bag, but we're going to go down one row below the last one that we just did. So I'm going to sew my lining to the green row. You want to match up the corner. This is where I've sewn it together. The inside of your bag corner to the corner or the seam of your lining. And it should reach all the way across. And because I did that round of single crochet with a smaller hook, look how much it fits now. It fits almost perfectly. It's just a little bit of sag there, but that's all right. It fits almost perfectly because I did that round of with the smaller hook. I didn't do any decreases, just crocheted normal. And you can pin this on if you like. I don't even have any pins where I am right now, but yeah, you can pin that on if you like, or you can just sew it as you go. We want our sewing needle. We want to thread on quite a bit of thread. I've got this double stranded because it's quite fine thread. I think this is 100% cotton, so it's going to break quite easily. Not quite easily, but it will break easier than like a nylon thread or something like that, or a polyester thread. So I'm just going to stitch it to this green row. See how there's a loop going across? I'm going to stitch it on there. So I'm going to go through my loop and then through my fabric. This is going to be easy to sew the other way around, but this is just the easiest way I can get all of this in front of my camera. And we're going to go through the fabric, but we just want to go just near the edge. Going to pull our thread through. Mine's quite long, probably a bit too long. And I'm just going to tie a knot. I'm sure this is not how you would do it if you're a proper sewer, but it's how I'm doing it. So I'm just tying 3 knots just to make sure that is done up properly. Then we can poke that down in there. And I'm going to go under the loop of the green yarn. And then I'm just laying that along there. As just a tiny, tiny amount into the fabric. And then pull that thread. And again under the loop. Make your stitches small, and then that way it'll look a lot neater. And again, this is how I'm sewing it. If you have an easier way or a better way, you do it that way. And you can leave suggestions in the comments section. That'll be great. I don't think I've done much hand sewing at all, so this is just what I know. And I'm going to do this all the way around the project. Just take it slow, no need to rush. I think the slower you go, the neater it's going to look. So I will meet you when we have our lining completely sewn in. I don't know about you, but I'm getting really excited about how this bag is coming together. Pause the video and I'll see you then. We are going to fold our bag, or just put it together, so that the seams on one side are touching, and then the seams on this side are touching as well. Because that's where our handles are going to go, and then we're going to crochet around the other section. So I just want you to know that that's how I've got it laid down. This is going to be the side of our bag, and the handle's going to come off this one. These ones. If you've got a particular square, say yours are different, that you want to use as the sides of your bag, then just lay it so that this square here is the side of your bag you want facing out when you hold a handbag. I still have a little bit left of my blue yarn that I'm using, So I'm just going to keep using this until it runs out. If I need some more for the handles, I'll just join in another colour. I'm going to be using my smaller crochet hook again. If you're lucky, you would have kept your yarn attached, but I didn't. I cut it off. And we're going to join our yarn on the outside of our bag because we want our crochet facing us. We're going to join our yarn in there. So this is one of the seams. It's the right hand seam, so the other seam where a handle goes is over there. I'm going to join that into there. And we're using the single crochet. What you could do is you can use a foundation single crochet for your straps, or you can use a chain. I know that one of my Facebook friends, and I think it's Chicky, you were telling me that when you do a chain for your bag, or if you do a slip stitch on your bag handles, it cuts into your shoulder. So we don't want that. If you want to do a foundation single crochet from here, then you can do that for your handles. I am going to make a chain because it is the easier method, and I'm only going to make my chains big enough sort of for a tote bag rather than like a handbag with a shoulder strap. So for my handles, I have no idea how many chains I want for them. I'm going to make a heap and I'm going to count them because you need to count them for the same for the other side. I'll let you know in just a sec how many I've done. So we're just going to do a basic chain. I'm going to keep going and I'll tell you in a second how many I've done. So pause the video. I have done 50 chains altogether. You can do as many as you like. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to go across until I find the next seam. So we can see our seam here. And I'm going to join that onto there. Splitting my yarn as I go. We are now going to crochet around to the next seam, which is over here. So single crochet all the way around. Pause the video and I'll see you when we are over onto the other seam over here. I am around to my seam, and if you look over here, this is where we just crocheted from. That's where the bag handle is attached. So we're going to do our other chains, and I did 50 single crochet. No, I didn't. I did 50 chain stitches. So that's what I'm going to do again, because you want your handles to be the same length, I'm assuming. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to continue until I've got 50. Pause the video and I'll see you when we're ready for the next step. So this is where my chain's coming out of, and there's the other chain on the other side. So we want to go across and we want to join it in the next seam. So if we turn this over, this is our next seam, or the join on the crochet, and we're going to slip stitch into the top where it's just the squares are just joined together there, and we're going to join with single crochet on this one, and we're going to single crochet. I'm going to see if I can move those threads up there because they're bugging me. See if we can just weave it up, and then what we're going to do is we're going to crochet all the way around until we get to the next chain. I'm going to crochet over this sucker so I don't have to sew it in later. Oops. Where am I? Here. I'm sorry for this distracting background. It's just, it is impossible to fit all this in. So we're just single crocheting around, and we'll keep going until we get to the next chain. Pause the video and I'll see you in the next step. We are back around to where our chain is, and what we're going to do now, and if this was a foundation single crochet, it's going to be the same. You're going to crochet into the single crochets, but just here we're just going to crochet into the chain because we don't have any single crochets yet. So we're going to find our first chain. And I'll try and get under 2 loops so that it makes this edge, I don't think you could see a thing I was just doing there. see this edge here. So we're just crocheting into the chain. Because this is my very first tutorial in over a year that I've actually filmed, not released, just filmed. I'm learning how to make tutorials again. I keep forgetting to look through my viewfinder. So I'm going, oh yes, I'm going to crochet into the stitch, and you can't see a thing. So we're going to crochet all the way around our chains, and when we finish our chains I'll show you what to do. It's very easy and you probably already know how to do it, but I'll show you how to do it anyway. So pause the video and I'll see you when we're at the end of our chains. So I've done all my chains and I'm up to the main part of my bag, and we're just going to crochet into that. No idea why my camera keeps going out of focus. It wants to focus on the pretty fabric. So we're going to do this. We're going to crochet around until we get to our next chain. I'm up to my chains and now I'm going to single crochet into my chains. If you've got a foundation single crochet, you are going to crochet into the top of the single crochets. And then we're going to crochet around the bag until we get to where we started, and we're going to slip stitch to join. So pause the video and I'll see you when we are at the end of the round. I'm back to where I started and I'm just going to slip stitch into the next stitch. What you could do is you could just crochet in a spiral so that you won't have a join. You could make a flower and sew it over the join if the join really bothered you. It's only going to be about that big anyway, because there's only a couple of rounds to this. Personally, it's not going to bother me because it's going to be so small I'm not even going to see it. So if you don't want to have that seam, then don't slip stitch, single crochet into that stitch that we're going into now. And then you're just going to single crochet all the way around. And when we come to our, so now we are going to do a chain one and single crochet if we are joining. And we're going to single crochet all the way around. So I'm going to spin this around, you'll hear it on my backdrop. And when we get to the handles here, we're going to just crochet along and whoop, up there and crochet around. You can go around and around until you have as many rounds as you like. I'll probably do 2, which is one more, or I might do 3. I'll know when I see it. So, because at the moment I think the handles are a little bit thin. Pause the video and I will see you when we have the handles finished. I have finished my bag and I'm so excited. Woohoo! Got my handles. I could make them a little bit thicker. I'm going to see how these ones work, and you know, after a few times of using it, if they're not thick enough, I can just crochet a few more rounds onto it. But I have heaps of stuff in here. This is all the yarn that I used to make my bag. This is what I was keeping it in. So you can see that's huge. Like there's, I don't know, they were all 200 gram balls. Some of them are used up, but that is all in my bag. So if I can get that back in. And yes, I can make banana bread. So I'm very excited about it. And when you've got nothing in it, it has quite a saggy bottom. The bottom square sags quite a bit. But once you've got stuff in it, it's pretty good. Like it doesn't sag too much at all. So I'm very happy about that. I might put some stitches, sew some stitches on the corner where the squares join there. I might sew on the inside of the lining where the lining seams are. I might stitch just to the outside of the bag. Probably do it from the inside. Maybe just to hold the lining in place. I don't know if that's going to be a problem, but it's easy enough to do. But I'm very, very happy with my bag. I decided not to do the pom-poms. I said maybe I was going to do pom-poms around the outside, but I think because of all these popcorns, the pom-poms, ooh, it's a mouthful, say that 5 times, the pom-poms are not going to have as much as an impact as what I thought they might because of the popcorn stitches. So I think I'll just let them shine by themselves. Who knows, I might add some down the track, but for now, my bag is finished and I'm very, very excited. So I would love to see yours. please tag me on Instagram. You have to put the @ sign and then YouTube Bob Wilson 123. If you just do a hashtag of Bob Wilson, I won't find it. Well, I will find it if I search for it, but if you tag me with the @ symbol, I'm going to see it a lot quicker. Also share on Facebook. I would love to see your bag with the colours you've used and if you've done a lining or not, and if you have, what fabric you've used. I really enjoyed making this tutorial. This, like I said before, this is the first one I've made since I've come back to work after having a year off for mental health reasons. Yeah, so how exciting. I got to use sewing and crochet in the same tutorial. Let me know what you think of the sewing part of the video. Again, it was my first time I've ever done a sewing video, so I would like to have your feedback on that. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking. Thanks for joining me, and till next time, happy crocheting.